Royal Air Maroc, more commonly known as simply RAM, is the Moroccan national carrier, as well as the country's largest airline. RAM is fully owned by the government of Morocco, and has its headquarters on the grounds of Casablanca-Anfa Airport. From its base at Mohammed V International Airport, the carrier operates a domestic network in Morocco, scheduled international flights to Africa, Asia, Europe, and North and South America, and occasional charter flights that include Hajj services. History. Early years. Royal Air Maroc, Compagnie Nationale de Transports Aériens, was formed in July 1953 as a result of the merger of Compagnie Chérifienne, DELR, set up in 1946 with Junkers Ju-52s, and Compagnie Chérifienne de Transports Aériens Air Maroc, that was founded in 1947 and commenced scheduled operations in 1949. The fleet of the newly formed airline included 6 Bretagne, 4 Commandos, 5 DC-3s and 2 Languedocs. These aircraft worked on routes previously served by the predecessor companies, plus Frankfurt, Geneva and Paris. The name Royal Air Maroc was adopted on 28 June 1957, with the government of Morocco having a 67.73% stake. Hajj flights commenced in 1957. The carrier's fleet comprised 16 aircraft by April 1958, including 4 DC-4s, 3 DC-3s, 7 Bretaignes and 2 C-46s. In May 1958, the airline ordered 2 caravels. In July, a number of long-haul routes were launched using 4 Lockheed L-749 Constellations leased from Air France, and the coastal Oran-Oujda run, which had been suspended in May, was reopened. Also in 1958, the carrier started flying to Gibraltar. The arrival of the Constellations enabled the airline to withdraw the DC-4s from service. A single caravel was part of the fleet of 4 L-749 Constellations, 4 DC-4s and 3 DC-3s by April 1960, making the caravel the first jet aircraft operated by the company. Another caravel was yet to be delivered. The type began serving the Rabat-Bamako route in July 1961. By 1964, there were 3 caravels in the fleet. A fourth was ordered in late 1964. At April 1965, the company had 758 employees and chairmanship was held by Mohammed Al-Fassi. The route network included services within North Africa, and also linked North Africa with France, Germany, Italy, Spain and Switzerland. The Casablanca-Dakar and Casablanca-Las Palmas sectors were also flown. Shareholding at the time was split between the government of Morocco, Air France, Compagnie Générale Transatlantique, Aviation y Commercio and others. An order for a 5th caravel was placed in early 1968. By 1969, all routes to Europe and North Africa were flown using solely these aircraft. In 1969, the carrier placed its first order with Boeing. Royal Air Maroc took delivery of the first Boeing aircraft, a Boeing 727-200, in 1970, with the carrier deploying it on revenue service on 15 May. Subsidiary airline Royal Air Inter was formed early in the year to undertake domestic routes using Fokker F-27 Friendship equipment. This sister company started operations on 2 April 1970, and by May 1971, it was serving Agadir, Al-Hoceima, Casablanca, Fez, Marrakesh, Oujda, Rabat, Tangier and Tétouan. The RAM's fleet at May 1971 comprised 2 Boeing 727-200s, along with 4 caravels and 2 SIAI Marchetti SF-260s, at a cost of $8.85 million. A third Boeing 727-200 was ordered in 1972. In 1974, the carrier ordered a single Boeing 727-200 advanced, followed by an order for a fourth Boeing 727-200. Also that year, negotiations with Air France for the lease of a Boeing 707-320B started. By March 1975, the Boeing 707 was part of an 11-strong fleet, along with 4 Boeing 727-200s, 4 Caravels, and 2 SIAI Marchetti SF-260s. RAM flew to the leased Boeing 707 to New York for the first time in April 1975, becoming the first Arab airline in serving this destination. During the year, the company acquired 3 Boeing 737-200s to replace the Caravels. Also in 1975, a weekly non-stop service to Rio de Janeiro was started. An order for 3 more Boeing 727-200s was placed in early 1976. That year, the 4 Caravels were withdrawn from service and sold. A Boeing 747-200B entered the fleet in September 1978. The 1980s. By July 1980, Royal Air Maroc had 3,583 employees. At this time, the carrier's fleet consisted of a single Boeing 747-200B, 2 Boeing 707-320Cs, 1 Boeing 707-320, 7 Boeing 727-200s and 3 Boeing 737-200s. Another Boeing 727-200, ordered in January that year, was still pending delivery. At a cost of $16 million, an additional Boeing 737-200 was ordered in 1981, with the U.S. Export-Import Bank arranging a $5 million loan to secure the delivery, and RAM and private finances funding the balance. Delivery was slated for March 1982. During 1982, 2 Boeing 737-200Cs were ordered for $33 million. Deliveries were arranged for March and June 1983. Late that year, the airline joined the International Air Transport Association. In July 1986, RAM was the first African airline that introduced the Boeing 757 into service. The first of these aircraft that was delivered to the company set a record for the type when it flew the distance separating Seattle from Casablanca, 4,910 nautical miles, non-stop. The 1990s. In the early days of the decade, the last of the 707s was removed from the fleet. Meanwhile, newer, more efficient classic 400 and 500 series Boeing 737s were introduced to increase the frequency of European routes. By the middle of the decade, all 727s had disappeared. To consolidate its North American operations, Royal Air Maroc purchased a single Boeing 747-400. As the decade progressed, new routes to previously underserved African airports were opened, 2,000 present. With the increasing number of passengers and newly opened routes as well as increasing oil prices, there was a need to buy new aircraft. In 2000, an order for 20 next-generation Boeing 737 aircraft and 4 Airbus A321s was placed. Meanwhile, more routes to West and Central African cities were open. RAM was now changing from providing flights to meet the demands of foreign tourists and Moroccan expatriates, to providing connections between European cities and African cities via the Casablanca hub. In 2002, the company leased 2 767s to replace the single 747 in North American routes. The future. Morocco and the EU signed an Open Skies agreement in late 2006. This means that Royal Air Maroc will have to face tough competition from low-cost carriers eager to exploit profitable routes between Western Europe and Morocco. A further challenge arises from the high cost of kerosene and the fact that the company may have to drop some of its unprofitable domestic and international routes. Corporate affairs. Key people as of February 2016. Abdelhamid Adou holds the CEO position. Head office. Royal Air Maroc has its head office on the grounds of Casablanca-Anfa Airport in Casablanca. In 2004, the airline announced that it would move its head office from Casablanca to the Nouakchott province, near Mohammed V International Airport. MAP, the official state news agency, said that the construction of the headquarters and a 500-room conference hotel would take 1 year and 6 months. The agreement to build the head office in Nouakchott was signed in 2009. Financial performance. The carrier made a profit of $836 million for the fiscal year 2012, the best result in 10 years, as part of cost-cutting measures that included the reduction in the number of employees by 1,974 between June 2011 and October 2012 and a fleet renewal program. Among others, the net income for the same period was reduced to -$43 million from -$1.67 billion in FY 2011. Following restructuration that included the removal of 10 medium-haul aircraft, the staff-to-aircraft ratio decreased from 110:1 to 58:1, whereas the ratio of passengers transported per employee increased from 1,054:1 to 2,329:1. Business trends. The airline's full formal accounts do not seem to be published. Figures disclosed for Royal Air Maroc Group for recent years are shown below. Ownership and subsidiaries. As of January 2015, the airline is owned by the Moroccan government, which has considered the privatization of the company for about 20 years. The latest plan, dating from late 2012, reportedly included selling up to 44% of the stakes to a Gulf airline. As of April 2014, Royal Air Maroc had 2,737 employees. The staff was 5,352 strong in 2010. As of December 2012, the group Royal Air Maroc had the following subsidiaries. Former RAM subsidiaries include Air Gabon International, formed in December 2005 as a joint venture between the state of Gabon and RAM, which held a controlling interest. It intended to be the new Gabonese flag carrier. Air Senegal International, created in 2000, had its maiden flight in 2001. The government of Senegal was the stockholder at 49% of the company, and RAM held the balance at the time it ceased operations in April 2009. Amadeus Morocco. Atlas Blue, RAM's fully owned low-cost subsidiary. It was created on the 28th of May 2004, and started operations in July the same year. Based in Marrakech, it initially operated a single Boeing 737-400 that was transferred from its parent company and deployed on charter routes to France. Operations were integrated into RAM in 2009, while the fleets of both carriers officially merged on the 10th of February 2011. Atlas Catering Airlines Services. Atlas Hospitality Morocco, a chain of hotels. Matis, dedicated to the aircraft wiring industry. Destinations. Code share agreements. As of December 2015, Royal Air Maroc has code-share agreements with the following airlines, which are the actual operators of the routes specified. Frequent Flyer Program. RAM's Frequent Flyer Program is called Safar Flyer. As of January 2013, cardholders can earn and redeem miles either by flying RAM, its direct subsidiaries, or its partner airlines Iberia, year. Etihad Airways and Qatar Airways hotels and car rental companies offer benefits too. Fleet recent developments. As of March 2013, Royal Air Maroc operated an all-Boeing fleet. RAM placed an order for 9 Boeing 737 next generation in October 1996. The first of these aircraft the airline took possession of in July 1998 was a Boeing 737-800, making the carrier the first scheduled one outside the United States to take delivery of this model. RAM received its first Boeing 737-700 in April 1999. In March 2001, RAM placed orders for 20 new Boeing 737NGs plus 2 wide-bodied Boeing 767-300ers in a deal worth about $1.4 billion. The same year, RAM became a new Airbus customer when it bought 4 Airbus A321s. In January 2002, the airline took delivery of its first Boeing 767-300er, after the carrier's board of directors agreed to buy a number of Boeing 787s on the 29th of July 2005. A memorandum of understanding for the acquisition of these aircraft was signed with Boeing on the 31st of July the same year. The deal, worth $650 million and including 5 Dreamliners, was confirmed in early November that year, with initial delivery slated for October 2008. The purchase contract was signed in December 2005, and also included an aircraft of the type on option, following an over $100 million worth contract that was signed in February 2006. These aircraft will be powered with General Electric GEnx engines. Boeing delivered RAM's first Dreamliner in December 2014. RAM was the launch customer for the ATR 72-600 when it took delivery of 2 of these aircraft on behalf of its regional subsidiary RAM Express. In August 2011, the carrier had placed an order for 4 aircraft of the type in March 2009, along with 2 ATR 42-600s. Future plans. In June 2013, RAM's CEO told that airline was seeking for new generation aircraft as a replacement for the aging fleet, that the carrier will need 20 to 30 new aircraft by 2020, and that the Boeing 787 was being considered for long-haul routes, whereas the Airbus Neo, the Boeing MAX, Bombardier C-Series and Embraers were all being considered for medium-haul flights. A contract for the lease of 4 Embraer E190s was signed in mid-2014. The carrier took delivery of the first of these aircraft in November the same year. Current as of July 2016, the Royal Air Maroc fleet consists of the following aircraft. Previously operated throughout its history, the carrier operated the following equipment: incidents and accidents. Fatal accidents: the 1st of April 1970, a Caravelle 3, registration CNCCV, that was due to complete the first leg of an international Agadir Casablanca-Paris scheduled flight, crashed on approach to Nouassa Airport, near Berikid, when control was lost at about 500 feet. 61 people perished in the accident, out of 82 occupants of the aircraft. The 22nd of December 1973, a Caravelle van, registration OOSRD, that was completing the first leg of an international non-scheduled Paris-Tangier-Casablanca passenger service, crashed into mountainous terrain on approach to Tangier Airport, some 40 kilometers off the airport. The aircraft had been leased from Bel-Air. All 106 occupants on board perished in the accident. The 21st of August 1994, an ATR 42-300 operating flight 630, the domestic Agadir-Casablanca route, lost control at 16,000 feet, entered a steep dive, and crashed into nearby mountains. Investigators suspect that the pilot deliberately disengaged the autopilot and directed the aircraft into the ground. All of the 44 passengers and crew members were killed. Non-fatal hull losses. The 14th of November 1958, the undercarriage of a Douglas C-47 Air registration CNCC jet collapsed on landing at Tangier Airport. The 26th of March 2003, the nose gear of a Boeing 737-400 registration CNRNF collapsed after landing at Oujda Les Angades Airport. Citations. Bibliography. Guthrie, Bernard. Encyclopedia of African Airlines. Jefferson, North Carolina, 28640. MC Farland and Amp Company, Inc. ISBN 0-78640495-7.